manipulate them to make it work for you. Like you can buy, there's 4 different drench families. You can buy combinations of drench, but you need to be able to know if I used this drench last year, should I use this drench this year? No. And where do you get that advice? Well, that advice starts off at a vet's, and it starts off by reading things that the vets send you, which, yes, if you're dyslexic, is really hard. Lucky they have text to speak. But you pick up and a lot of those things are just little 1-pagers that they will send out all year, all sort of probably every month. There'll be just a wee page that they'll send you as an email, and it's like, oh yeah, no, that just reminds you, and you will have heard about these sorts of things. So you can, oh yeah, that reminds me, I must vaccinate for this, I must drench for that, things like that, yeah.
Okay. So, tell me about the story of my brother and his homework.
Right, so your brother came home one day, when he's quite young, and he walks into the house and he says to his mother, "Where's Dad?" Mum says, "You need to do your homework." "Not doing homework." "Don't need homework. Don't need to learn how to read." I'm just going to, okay, you go and see your father then. So I was up in the sheep yards, and I happened to be vaccinating sheep with 5 and 1. So Jack comes up and says, "Hi Jack, you done your homework?" "No, I'm not doing homework. I don't need to learn how to read. Don't need reading for farming." So, right. Okay. I just happened to pick up the packet of vaccine. I said, "Here you are, Jack. Read this and tell me what I'm giving the sheep and why am I doing it, because it's all written there on the pack." And he sat there for a good 10-15 minutes, and I just kept on vaccinating the sheep and getting the next pen in. And I turned around and I was like, "Where's Jack?" I was like, "Jack, where you going?" I said, "I'm going home to do my homework." And that's probably the start of him ever reading anything, because it was like, this is frustrating. He did after a while realise that the words that are written on that packet I cannot pronounce, because they're about 20 letters long and make no sense whatsoever. But that didn't matter. It was one way to get him to read.
I mean, whatever works.
Whatever works, that's right.
Do you have any regrets during your time farming?
Probably not going and to more farms. Like I spent 6 months in England, but that was it, really, from this farm. Whereas looking at what the boys have done and what's out there, I do think that I would have done a lot better if I had gone and worked on other farms to get up to managing other farms, different types of farming. It didn't really bother me what sort of farming I do, but I do think that would have been really beneficial. Certainly, if I was a young person again, I would try them all.
Because currently we've got my 2 brothers, Harry and Jack. They're working on is it a canola farm?
No, it's a cropping farm.
A cropping farm over in Esperance. And you did a seeding there recently.
Yep, sure did. That was 3 months. And it was really interesting, like driving tractors that are 200 horsepower bigger than what we have here. Driving machines that are 18 metres wider than what we have here. And, for probably the first time in 40 years being paid by the hour. Which is quite a novelty. Of no idea what it's getting actually paid we were paid every month, but it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I actually got paid, and paid for what you know and what your knowledge is. It was a cool experience.
So what were you actually doing over there? Obviously you're driving tractors, but what did your job consist of?
So I did a lot of putting wire and lights on trucks and trailers. They'd run out of lights for them all, headlights, tail lights, wiring of them, welding up their trucks that were starting to fall apart. And then I drove the seeder, the disc seeder, which was a 12-metre disc machine for a while, before just putting in oats for baleage on hay for them. And then when they got into their full seeding, I was driving the fertiliser tractor. So it had a 4-ton spreader on it, and I'd spread urea in front of the drill, and I would fill the water tank for the drill, which consisted of 2 parts, has a liquid fertiliser system and a wetter agent that they use for non-wetting sands over there. I'd fill the fertiliser truck and help them fill the seed truck, and every day that was filled 2 or 3 times, and basically just tried to keep the drill running. So I'd help fix anything that was needed fixing on it. What did we do? One of the sensors on the fan, there's a massive fan that drives the air seeder. It went through the air seeder, so that was quite exciting for Harry. He got about 50 metres down the track, and that went kaboom. Blew a chunk about 6 inches wide in the side of this plastic housing, so we had to repair all that and find all the parts as it went down all the hoses, and it took a few hours to find all the parts. And for that, helped Jack with the sprayer. So Jack was spraying, and it just wear and tear, metal fatigue, it would snap, and at one point he got one of the arms to join him in the cab, which is quite spectacular. Things like that.
They had sheep over there as well.
They do have sheep. We didn't actually have much to do with the sheep. I fed the sheep quite often. They had a wee feedlot, so quite different to us. Their wee feedlot consisted of feeding them barley and lupins, and
the flour lupins?
Yeah, but the seed. So barley and lupin seed, and that wasn't crushed. And then feeding them bales of hay on the same pad, just stick it on the same heap every day. So it was about 5 feet high and about 30 metres wide. And they'd fatten their sheep that way.
And they were the same type of sheep we have in New Zealand?
No, they're different again. So these are merinos, which here we're down 9 to 11 microns in the wool.
What's a micron?
Microns are the finer the micron, the lower the number, the more it's worth.
Okay.
So
like
it's fine. So your nice fine merino woolen jerseys,
mm-hmm.
if you actually pull one of the hairs, one of the fibres out of that, and then go to a carpet and pull the fibre out, you'll be able to see the big difference. Now you don't want to wear the wool that's in the carpet that's so coarse it would just hurt. Yeah. But the merino wool's nice, and then so the fine merinos here are very nice for your clothes. Over there they are a coarse merino. They don't look anything like ours. Ours look wrinkly and I don't know, anemic quite often, but over there these ones were fat and huge, like absolute monster sheep.
Wow.
Which is it was quite strange working with them.
Do you have any, just for the listeners to kind of compare to, how big would you say they actually were?
So they were probably, the ewes were like 100 kilos. So our ones here are about 75.
Wow.
That's our Waireres. Our merino is probably looking at about 65 kilos. So they're double the size of a normal merino.
Wow.
But they're big sheep. Quite interesting.
So in general, your biggest regret is not getting other experiences from farms before coming back, because what time did you start fully farming in New Zealand?
So I've been farming since I was I don't know, about 3. So the first memory I've got is driving the truck up to the gate. My mother screaming at me, at my father, who's just quite relaxed because he knew I could stop the truck for feeding out the animals, and she thought I was just going to crash into the gate. So that's my first ever memory of doing it, and I've farmed one way or another here, apart from the 6 months I was in England.
Where you brought back a wife?
Where I brought back a wife, yes. Imported one. Best thing I ever did.
Because she constantly questions you.
Yes, I learnt a lot when I was in England, and how they do things when I was there 6 months there. Like we did in England, we did everything by tractor. There was no trucks. Whereas here we had trucks for driving. We'd drive the truck to cart our animals, to cart the grain.
So it's not like a ute, like it's a big
truck, yeah.
Like
so
a stock truck?
Our one was 15 ton.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in England we just drove trailers. So everywhere we went we drove a tractor and a trailer. So when after a while was one of the changes we made was we sold our truck, which would cost us about $5,000 a year just to have sitting in the shed, and bought a trailer which cost me nothing a year to have sitting in the shed.
So that was a good change you made?
Yeah, so that was a good change we made. It's just one of the changes that I saw profited us better than having a truck anymore.
Very interesting. So you started farming at 3 years old, but once you came back to England, because it's always been a family farm, what time did you kind of take over from your father?
When I got back from England, I got into a partnership with my parents. So I was in that for 3 years. And then we bought another farm, and then I took over running the entire company.
So what size farm are we looking at now?
So that was a 450 hectare farm that I took over then,
Mm-hmm.
effective hectares, which means you can use them. And now the family have decided to split up the farms, and we'll be down to about 250 hectares, I think.
So
Maybe
about
300.
halving it?
Yeah. So the half that we've got is 3/4 hill country, which is not overly productive,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got a little bit of flat land, which is good.
As you said before, we'd only really be able to use the hill country for feeding cows or cattle.
So the hill country here would suit old cows or sheep. The cows are heavier on the ground, whereas the sheep don't pug the ground as much, they don't create as much damage,
Mm-hmm.
hence why having a few of them round is quite good. And the bits that we can upgrade with fertiliser and working, we do, and that's what we run either the lambs on to fatten or the calves on to fatten.
Okay, what is your favourite part of farming?
Well, that was a hard one, but then probably this morning as we were driving along and being able to look in the kind of the light and seeing the animals happy and content, and just everything is at ease and calm is probably the best part of farming. It's just seeing that, like, you can watch the animals grow, you can literally see them growing, you can see them being happy, and knowing that you created that it's your reason, the reason that they are looking so good is because of you. So that's the reward of it, really.
A thing that, obviously it's your interview, but my favourite part of farming is when we've got all the new lambs and they're all jumping around and they're all playing, because they're just being young, they're just being lambs.
I think, like, I love the change, and probably, like, so I love not having lambs, and then I love having lambs, and it's like, so at the moment we're break fencing, so at the first week I loved it because it's like it's all new, and it's like okay, and then we pregnancy test and cool, we've done really well, you know, there's all these girls are in lamb, and then it's like you get a bit it's hard work shifting the fences and stuff, and then it's like you know you watch them get fatter and fatter, and then the next thing will be we'll have lambs, and then you get the lambs, I've got to go and rescue this lamb, got to go and help this lamb, and then you go out, and then the next day about 10 o'clock you'll see them playing, and it's like they're racing around like headless chickens playing tag. If you ever watch them, they play tag and they race. There'll be like 10 of them. Even sometimes the ewes will play tag, and they play games like humans, and they just rush around and they'll go round and round whatever they're chasing around. Sometimes it's round a stick hang, sometimes it's a wee mound of dirt somewhere, and you can actually, if you really, really concentrate, you can see them playing. You can see what they're doing. And then that's all good. Then that's finished, and it's time to watch the next thing, which will be the grass grow. Believe it or not, and it's like you go, they're going to run out of food. It's like, nice warm days. The sun's come out. Grass grown. Yeah, everyone's happy. And so the change, and then it'll be summer, and they say, right, it's time to start doing something else, tractor work and things like that.
So your favourite part is having the season, being able to break up, and every day, not every day, but every so often you get a complete change in how your day is going to be. Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes say at the moment we're break fencing till lunchtime, and then in the afternoons could be anything. It could be tractor work, it could be let's go out for lunch, it could be anything, just because we have to be here for the morning, but after that's our main part of it's done, then we can find something else to do, build a fence.
Not fences. Where do you think sheep farmers should focus their attention? Milk, wool, meats, or anything else?
That kind of depends on where you're farming. So, as we said earlier, certain land types can't support certain types of sheep. So, if you've got the passion for doing milking sheep, you want to be somewhere where they will thrive. Somewhere that grows a lot of grass, obviously, because they're very much like dairy cows. They need grass. They don't want to walk too far. You don't want to walk them too far. If you're in Europe, they'll be in a shed all the time. New Zealand doesn't really do sheds that much. We'd rather they be out eating grass in the paddock. You've got your merinos, which have historically up in the hill country or high country, Central Otago, those kind of barren, just about a desert kind of places, and they will do exceptionally well there. And it's just the intermediate ones, like so the lambs for meat. That's always going to be the store lambs. So if you don't want to have sheep all year, and you not really into the wool, you can do store lambs. So you buy them at quite small. When we say that, they're like 20, 25 kilos at the live weight, and you'll pretty much winter them and sell them in the autumn, in the spring, sorry. And that's where you'll get your money by. They'll be 30, 25 kilos in the spring, and you winter them, and that's what a lot of cropping farmers do. So they don't just grow sheep. Those lambs are becoming harder to find, but they come from places that can't fatten them themselves. So they can, like Southland places, they don't tend to be able to fatten lambs. They can grow a lamb, and they can grow wool, but they can't fatten them as well. just because of the type of land that they're on.
So every single region of New Zealand has a different type of thing that would thrive there.
Yeah, so even our ones, so the wareruas that we've got here, they will grow a third more wool here than they will 25 kilometres down where they winter.
Wow.
So and then in the same thing, they will lamb. So we trialled them years ago to see what would happen if we lambed them up the hill here versus lambing them down on the flats. So we left about 200 down on the flats. Old ewes should be the easiest lambing you'll ever have. Bought the rest, it was nearly 2,000 came up here. I lambed 3, so and I think they were all rotten lambs, so they died inside. Whereas my father had to lamb about 50, and he only had 200, and it was like, it's a no-brainer. I didn't lose any lambs. The actual lamb losses were less here on the hills. So things like that can make a big difference. And in saying that, the lambs on the hill won't fatten. So we can grow the carcass, but it won't be heavy. It'll be light, big and long. So what we do is we take them down to Courtenay there, and because the ground is hotter and drier and better, they grow meat down there. So they'll always fatten at like a third, 2/3 faster.
What age would you take them down there?
So we'll do that about Christmas time. So they're born in September, and they will go down there in late December.
So when are they weaned from their mothers?
Late December.
Okay.
So theoretically you could wean them at 6 weeks old, but that would not be a good idea.
Why wouldn't that be a good idea?
Because there'll be little tiny things. Then a ewe will milk for, I think it's 121 days. So at about 100 days, the lamb is eating a lot of grass and drinking less milk. So that's when you can start to wean them.
So that would be the best time period to take them off?
Yep.
Okay. What has changed since you began farming?
Most things, to be fair. We used to be all reliant on just producing a sheep. That's all we used to think about, was you had to produce a lamb. A ewe must produce a lamb or two. And you didn't really push production. It wasn't something you worried about terribly much. 125, 130% lambing was fine. And then we didn't have a lot of restrictions on what we wanted to use. So fertilizer restrictions, chemical restrictions, how we're allowed to treat an animal, whether it be a good or whether it's bad, how much shelter theoretically it has, all those sorts of things never existed. So we didn't have those worries. Now we have books and books on how we aren't allowed to do this and we aren't allowed to do that. The interesting part is that never told us what we can do. So we've had to innovate. We've had to get our lambing percentages up over 150%. We aren't allowed as many animals as what we used to have. There's certain good things, like I quite enjoy the farm auditing. It all makes sense to me, the farm assurance program, and from that we started to actually record drenches that we gave the animals, vaccines we gave them, so we knew what we were doing. Previously we just, let's go, and this last month we drenched them, this month we'll drench them. What did we use? No idea. We'll just use another one. Now it's more scientific, and we suck a lot of information, believe it or not, out of the dairy industry, if you're cunning enough. So we now have the feed budgeting. We were pretty good at it. Used to be able to go out and go, they'll only need 5 meters of break fencing today. That'll be fine. Whereas now we'll just get either a pasture cut or a plate meter, go measure how much dry matter is in there, and go, there's a calculator you can use, it's online, and you just put it in that, and it tells you how much to feed them. It's like, well, that's awesome. I know I'm giving them enough energy. We never knew what metabolic energy was, and apart from when you had sleepy sickness or twin lamb disease, depending what school you went to, we'll go, oh, they need glucose when they need grass. They just need grass or clover. Used to literally, for the cure for sleepy sickness, was to shear them and shove as much clover in their mouth as you could. It worked about 50% of the time, I'm not going to lie. And it's interesting now, we are supposed to drench them with ketol, which is like glucose.
What does sleepy disease do?
Sleepy sickness makes them go to sleep, dies. So what it is they don't have enough energy in them to produce the lambs that are in them, which you get from not feeding them enough of the right grass, basically. They need green grass. If you feed them a lot of green grass for twins, that's why they called it twin lamb disease, a lot of people, because it's only the ones having twins or multiples that would get it. It used to be really bad, and it's something that we haven't noticed much anymore. You get 1 or 2 maybe a year, but we used to have 10, 15, so there used to be a lot more. Ways of fencing. So when I started, we used to have a paddock of turnips, and we would put out a netting fence. We'd create a netting fence, and it would be probably 10, 15 days of food that they'd have in that paddock. So you would literally go, right, we'll put them on, and they get an hour of food, take them off. And every day you put them on the paddock and take them back off into a night paddock, and until it was all gone. So hence they didn't always get green, because they'd always eat the green tops, and then they'll eat the bulbs. And of course that's where you get the not getting enough greens in their diet from, which gave them sleepy sickness. But now, since then, we've had flexi nets, electric fencing, and we use just wires, 3 or 4 wires now, to go across paddocks, so we can give them green. They'll always get green. If we were still doing turnips, which we don't, they would be able to still get green turnips plus bulbs to eat as well. We stopped giving them turnips because it just wore all the teeth out. So you'd have young ewes that have got no teeth, not about 3-year-old ewes that would have no teeth.
And we've had ones live to 12, like you were saying
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, now that we've stopped feeding them turnips, their teeth don't wear out, because literally when they're eating turnips in the ground, they're eating dirt. So dirt, and you imagine, well, you know what like eating dirt's like,
Yeah.
and grind your teeth down. So that's what will happen. And ever since we've stopped, the ewe life has gone a lot further.
I know now there's been a lot of controversy about, what is it called? Carbon credits and stuff like that in farming, and the paperwork around sustainability and things like that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we never used to have to worry about. Now there's at least one day